Jeff Johns, Todd Nauk, and Brian Hitch bring back not one, but a whole slew of beloved characters as Stargirl teams with the 7 Soldiers of Victory to battle the Clock King and rescue one of their own from the perils of the timestream. Jeff Johns returns to the character he created to reintroduce Stargirl to the world and her supporting cast into the DC universe as part of the Infinite Frontier. For people who aren't familiar with the character or who have only seen the TV series, the issue does a great job reiterating her origin and who are the other heroes around her, hitting all of the major points of Courtney and Pat's life. Not only that, but Johns takes on Infinite Frontier's new Omniverse mandate really well, revealing the Green Arrow we know was definitely the Green Arrow we saw in the 1940s, tying it back perfectly to a past adventure of theirs and explaining how these characters like Vigilante and Shining Knight are still active in present day. The issue was also set up for an upcoming Stargirl solo series, which looks to be focusing on the sidekicks of the older heroes, something also that was rather prevalent throughout this issue and how many of the sidekicks to these older heroes end up either dead or messed up thanks to the adventures they go on. It's something John seems to be basing the whole Stargirl series around, so I'm looking forward to more of that in her solo series later on this year. Longtime Young Justice and Teen Titans artist Todd Nauk returns with his signature bright and colourful art style to help reintroduce these heroes. I thoroughly enjoyed how packed he made every page, filling them all with so much background detail and action set pieces, all of which thanks to Hi-Fi's colours really just popped right off the page. Brian Hitch also lent his talents to the book for a surprising 2-page story that seemingly confirms that Jeff Johns and him are doing a JSA book. This was just more of a bit of a teaser for that which is coming, but Hitch really got to let loose and include pretty much all of the JSA members ever to exist in one awesome splash page that capped off the book. Stargirl Spring Break Special Issue 1 was a fantastic return of Stargirl and her supporting cast, perfectly reiterating who the character is while providing us with some great details about Infinite Frontier and promising us that this was just the beginning of Courtney Whitmore's story. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Stargirl Spring Break Special Issue 1 finds Green Arrow and Red Arrow training in Star City, with Oliver telling Emiko she's holding the bow wrong, knowing that she'll miss her target. Emiko says that she doesn't lock her arm like Oliver does because it's a choice, not a rule, firing the bow as Oliver does as well, striking the same target as him, only slightly off. She says that it was close enough as she zips down the buildings, and Oliver tells her that she would learn quickly if she had listened to his tips. Emiko says that while he was shooting rats on an island, she had a bow in her baby hands thanks to some assassins, and besides, he didn't invent archery, just like how he didn't invent being Green Arrow, since the first Green Arrow was some clean-shaven guy in the 40s. Oliver says that that was him, knowing that it's a long story involving the Clock King and his quest to unlock the secret of time travel. Oliver reveals that he and Roy were thrown into the past thanks to one of the villain's time traps and got stuck in the golden age of heroes, but they made some new friends and lost a few along the way, knowing that it was good and hard times. Emiko has so many questions for him as the duo are met by the Crimson Avenger, someone Oliver knows they cannot trust. The gun-toting woman says they need to since Lee Travis needs their help, and so does she. At Blue Valley High, Courtney Whitmore attends detention, remembering what brought her family to Blue Valley and how she found out that her stepfather, Pat Dugan, was one of the 7 Soldiers of Victory, and sidekick to the Star-Spangled Kid, a hero who Courtney herself became and is the reason why she misses class sometimes, hence why she's in detention. She knows the second detention is over, it's spring break time, and that means helping out Vigilante, one of Pat's old teammates. Stargirl and Stripe head to Myrtle Beach, hiding the giant robot as Pat dumps out their suitcases, getting out of the robot and heading to their hotel, reminding Courtney that they aren't there for the nearby beach. Courtney, however, reminds him that the cosmic staff recharges in sunlight, wanting to get some sun since it means they are technically preparing for the bad guys. Pat reminds her of her responsibilities that come with the staff, wanting her to drop it and the bags in the room and meet him and Vigilante to get up to speed. Up in her room, Courtney tells the staff that Pat is right and that they are there for work, as the staff gets her to look out at the Golden Beach and all of the people partying on it. Courtney says it's not like she knows any of the kids there and it's no big deal since they'll do their job, go back to Blue Valley and wait for the JSA to call or some bad guys to show up, like always. Pat meanwhile calls Barbara, telling her that they're about to go meet Greg, not really sure what it's about, but he can't remember remember the last time he saw all his friends. Heading to the last roundup, the duo wait for Vigilante, with Courtney thinking that every man that comes in a cowboy hat to be the hero. She notes how a lot of people seem to be having fun, but quickly puts that out of her mind, asking Pat about the 7 Soldiers of Victory, wanting to know more about the men behind the masks. Pat says she knows who Shining Knight is, the warrior who sat with King Arthur's round table until he was frozen in time, waking up in their century. Because of that, Sir Justin became lost and confused, blaming himself for not being there to help Arthur and the other knights. Justin would always go round to the team's houses years after they disbanded, making sure that they were okay, and the last that Pat heard, he was with Vigilante. Pat then talks about Green Arrow and Speedy, saying that they were from the present and were sent to the past, knowing while brave, Oliver wasn't telling them something, putting it on that they were homesick. Pat reveals that while fighting Nebula Man, they were all thrown forward in time to the present, which led to some tough times for the duo, especially for Roy. Talk soon turns to the original Crimson Avenger and Wing, saying that Lee Travis was a journalist who tried righting some wrongs, and who was stopped from killing an innocent man by the orphan named Wing, who taught the man a different way to find justice other than at the end of a gun. Pat says that Wing died helping Oliver and Roy find their way home, and his death sent Lee into a spiral, and he himself died not long after, while saving some people from an exploding boat. Pat finally talks about Vigilante, the son of a town sheriff who wanted to be a singer, leaving the town and his father behind. But after his father was murdered, Greg returned home to bring his father's killers to justice, becoming the gunslinger known as Vigilante, wandering from town to town looking for people to help. Meaning he never really settled down and had a family, and none of the soldiers did except for Pat. Pat says that despite their struggles, they were all a family. A voice says that that family now needs them as the Crimson Avenger suddenly arrives, wanting Pat to come with her, so she uses her powers to take both Pat and Courtney, teleporting them away from the bar and to Vigilante and the other 7 Soldiers of Victory. The group reunite with one another, learning that they don't have much time, as Stargirl is met by Red Arrow, who is a little surprised that they are already using each other's real names, but introduces herself as Omiko. Crimson Avenger says the children should stay out of this, but Courtney says that she is the leader of her duo with Pat, who's her sidekick, and she wants to help, as does Omiko. Crimson Avenger says she wears the blindfold so she can see only what she needs to, and she sees that the last time kids were involved with the 7 Soldiers of Victory, one of them died, and while Wing saved the original Crimson Avenger from the cursed guns, she is forced to wield them because of her sins, and by saving Lee Travis, she can save herself. The Crimson Avenger reveals that Lee's body was never found for a reason, telling the kids it's too dangerous and she cannot have more blood on her hands. Pat asks Greg what's happening as the soldiers are teleported away by the Crimson Avenger before Courtney can catch them. Emiko expected this since Oliver always leaves her out of the dangerous outings as well, still blaming himself every time Roy falls off the wagon. She asks what happened to Pat's first partner, learning the Star-Spangled Kid was murdered since all of the kids associated with the 7 Soldiers of Victory are either killed or screwed up, so Emiko understands why they left them there. Courtney asks why she isn't so upset about this, learning that Emiko knows where they went, having scanned their maps and files while they were busy reuniting and reminiscing, knowing that they are hunting the Clock King, the creep who sent Oliver and Roy tumbling through time in the first place. Emiko reveals that the Clock King is after the ship that Lee Travis died on, since it wasn't just explosives that blew it up. There was a time machine under it, built by Per Degaton, the time-traveling Nazi Courtney is familiar with. Emiko says that thanks to the explosion, it imploded through time and the boat reappeared off the South Carolina coast, and Clock King wants its chronal energy. She wonders if Stargirl wants to go after it, and the hero jumps at the chance, suiting up and flying with Emiko over the crowds of partygoers out by the beach. Courtney learns that when Emiko isn't teaming with her brother, she's usually hanging out with the Teen Titans, but she knows she's got more training to do, not that she would ever admit that to Oliver. Stargirl knows how she feels, since if they make a mistake and someone gets hurt, it's their fault. Soon they come across the 7 soldiers battling Clock King and his monster horde above a fiery boat. Clock King demands that Green Arrow leave the ship to him, since he'll fix the temporal tear and send the various creatures that have spawned from it back to their home times before they hurt anyone else. Oliver knows that he wants to take the time machine, but Clock King says he's trying to fix his own life, wanting to go back and talk with himself and convince himself to be a hero, and no one can stop him from doing that. The villain activates his time watch, blasting Oliver with it as Courtney spots Lee Travis at the helm of the boat. Stripe asks if she can get to him, so Stargirl leaves, letting Emiko go and help Oliver with the Clock King. Red Arrow arrives to help Green Arrow, who says he saw his past and future all at once, as well as someone else. Clock King knows that should have broken the hero's mind after seeing all of that, as Vigilante swings by and smashes him off the clock face. Stargirl meanwhile confronts Crimson Avenger, telling her that she can help, but the woman asks if she knows how to turn off a time machine. Courtney doesn't, but says that she'll look for an off switch. The Crimson Avenger gets to Lee, telling him to come with her. Lee spots the cursed guns, knowing that she is cursed like he was. The woman says that if she saves him, she will be free, touching him, but doing so causes a paradox, which in turn blows the boat open with chronal energy. The resulting explosion shows Stargirl a vision of Wing, who is running from someone with some other heroes, who know that they can't leave the others behind. Wing says they aren't, they just need to get to the north side of the island. Stargirl is blown back into the boat's command deck as a voice says that the childminder is coming and the children need to be free. Lee knows that the girl saw what he saw, so it's not he who needs saving, it's Wing. The boat heads to the shore as Lee says that they need to destroy the time machine before it swallows everyone up on the beach, wanting Stargirl to find Wing wherever he is. Stargirl grabs Crimson Avenger, getting on the staff and blasting the machine as she takes off into the air. The boat crashes into the shoreline, exploding in a bright light before being pulled into a time portal, leaving no trace of it behind. Stargirl remembers how afterwards there was celebration from the team, but they soon realize that Clock King disappeared when the time machine blew up. However, Lee Travis's body was finally found. Courtney knows that the mission to save him failed, and there was a burial service for him, which was attended by the Justice Society of America and the Justice League, since many considered Lee to be the first hero to put on a mask, even before Wesley Dodds. Pat and the soldiers kept in touch, with them all coming over to Pat's place every Sunday for family dinner. Courtney tells them about what Lee told her about Wing, and they checked Wing's grave, finding the boy's body is still there. Dr. Midnight runs some tests on Courtney but couldn't determine if anything was wrong with her, only citing the after effects of being blasted by chronal energy. Crimson Avenger meanwhile disappeared, but Courtney knows that the guns pull her to places where she will do things. Later one night, Courtney is met by Red Arrow, who says that she's got an interesting lead regarding Wing, prompting Stargirl to get her staff. Back in November of 1940, at the Frolic Room in Los Angeles, Sal closes up the bar, telling his last complaining patron that his watch must be running slow and time is up. Suddenly, the men are attacked by Per Degaton, who has dragged Clock King in from the timeline, saying the man was warned that the time stream is Degaton's domain, and yet here Clock King is trying to take his tech and enter it. Degaton says the last time he did this, a Green Arrow was sent to the past and it messed things up. Clock King says he just wants to be sent home, but Per says that before that, there are some people they are going to hurt, and Clock King is going to help him. Per knows that there are a lot of these people, since the people he looks to do battle with are the Justice Society of America.